If you haven't noticed, the government wants you at home to have more babies. And it could be because of headlines like this: birth rates are declining, according to the CDC. Few Americans seeing falling birth rates as a priority, if you look at this headline from our partners over at The Hill. So we spoke with one mother who had a fairly different journey than I did, but at the same time, she's experiencing the joys of motherhood.
We all kind of grow up with this idea of, it's like the nursery rhyme. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby and baby carriage, right? And then suddenly you start living your life and you're working and you're, living in Chicago, working nonstop, working in news, and then got out of news. And suddenly you find yourself in a position where I'm at an age where if I want a baby, if I want to become a mom, which is really what I wanted, you got to figure it out. And, wasn't in a relationship at the time. And so you take matters into your own hands.
Marla Cichowski is a former network news producer. In fact, her and I worked together on the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. That was just about 16 years ago. At the time, neither of us really thought about becoming parents. And between the two of us, now we have 4 beautiful children. But the fact of the matter is, our journey looked wholly different. Marla decided at one point she was going to take matters into her own hands and become a single mother by choice. Here she is. So we sucked you in. You have no choice because we've been connected for so long that you probably feel like, well, Liz is going to keep asking me until she stops asking me.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Essentially, you'd probably tried to run away from me, which now is almost 16 years ago. If I can do simple math, which after having a 5th grader, I can't do simple math. But you and I covered the Gulf oil spill, which dragged on for what felt like forever. I think I was engaged at the time. We both didn't have kids.
Right.
And now it's like we've gone through this journey together. We've been at different networks. You've worked in and out of news. I am still in news because obviously I can't hide. But you're a mother now and I'm a mother now, but our paths have been very different. So tell me about your path.
Yes. So, and my path to motherhood is a story that I never planned. It was not something that growing up I was ever, thinking, what? When I grow up, we all kind of grow up with this idea of, it's like the nursery rhyme. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby and the baby carriage, right? And then suddenly you start living your life and you're working and you're, I'm living in Chicago, working nonstop, working in news, and then got out of news. And suddenly you find yourself in a position where I'm at an age where if I want a baby, if I want to become a mom, which is really what I wanted, you got to figure it out. And, wasn't in a relationship at the time. And so you take matters into your own hands. And I have this frame in my living room that says, create the things you wish existed. And I always think of that when I think about my story to becoming a mom, because it really was. It was a matter of saying, okay, step 1, what are you going to do? You know what it takes to make a baby. So what are we going to do here? And it took a lot of soul searching. It was not an easy decision. At first I knew I was going to freeze my eggs. I was like, okay, let's get that done. Freeze the eggs. And then we'll just keep them over there for a while. I was not ready to make a decision on choosing like a donor, a sperm donor. So, because I kept thinking, well, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, I could meet someone on the train. You never know. It's a big city. Yeah. And then, time went by and realized if I'm going to do this, like essentially time is running out. And so that was when I made the decision to say, okay, I am going to, at first I asked a good friend of mine who lives in a different state, and we kind of walked down that path together, but then ultimately decided probably not the best decision. And then it was a matter of, okay, time to choose a donor. And it just kept going and going and going from there, and so many ups and downs and roller coaster ride, emotional journey. I mean, parenthood and any way you choose to become a parent, right, is an emotional journey, I feel like. But doing it on my own and becoming like a single mom by choice, SMBC, as we like to use the
Yeah,
acronym.
I like that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even realize what the acronym stands for. So always happy to educate and create awareness. But yeah,
Well,
it was quite a journey.
so it sounds like it was the tipping point. It was a tipping point for me to pester you to talk about this because you're right. I mean, I got married and had kids, but it wasn't what my fairy tale it wasn't what I envisioned actually. It's funny, I was talking to a producer about this that, I always wanted to make it in network news and everything else was just sort of side noise. And
Hmm.
now being a mother, I would give up everything. I would give up everything I have, every material possession, every career accomplishment, but I didn't know that in my 20s and even in my 30s. So that leads me to my question is what was your tipping point? I didn't know what I was missing. You knew what you were missing. That's what I think the difference is that you're
Hmm.
like, "Wait a second. There's joy here that I know I'm missing out on. I'm going to
Right.
take matters into my own hands."
Right. I mean, I would see, my friends from college, obviously having kids, and, none of them lived like super close to me. So, and, my own family, like we have a smaller family. And my older brother, he died when I was in high school.
Mhm.
And as a result of this tragic accident, I became an only child and
Mhm.
therefore don't have like nieces and nephews. Right. And because I was like, I'm never gonna be the auntie, like biological aunt, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
kind of an auntie to some friends'
Yeah.
kids, but it's different, right? When it's your own family. And so I knew more than ever, I was turning 40, and it's like, you gotta make a decision. Otherwise, the decision will be made for you.
Mhm.
And that was, and I know a lot of people now, like even in their 20s and 30s, are off freezing their eggs. And let's just get the record clear that when I froze those eggs, then I went to use them about a year later, and those eggs did not work for me. So when
Oh,
they
no.
fertilized them and we tried to, do the transfer, nothing, it didn't work. It was a, failed transfer. So
So
here I
what
was
was that
hoping.
like? Yeah, I mean, didn't you wanna give up?
Right. I mean, to to use a bad pun, like you put all your eggs in this basket, right? And
Yes,
then wait for the transfer, and you just keep thinking in your head, this has to work. Like these are
correct.
the best eggs I've got because they were when I was like a year younger than what I am now. And then suddenly, they call you and tell you like this did not work.
Mhm.
And then you're thinking, "Oh my god. Well, then now we have to go through this all over again, right? Another egg retrieval." And I think I went through at least 2 more egg retrievals after that before I got to one healthy embryo, which is my beautiful daughter, Lucy,
Lucy.
now, who's 5. Yeah.
I think people don't understand. It's like you do start. We went through a fertility journey. Is that it really is not guaranteed that
Mm-mm.
statistically you've got like a 25% chance of getting pregnant, whether you do it the old fashioned way or you got a paper trail. I think people get a little bit confused. Like it is
Right.
not
There's
quite
no
a
guarantee.
guarantee. But I'm also, from your standpoint, I remember feeling isolated and lonely and I was married. And so, first of
Mhm.
all, you have the trauma of what you've been through growing up, which was part of the reason that motivated you to do so. But then you're like, all right, it's failed. Maybe it's just not meant to be. Did you go through that?
I definitely through the process of going through it, they actually you meet with like a psychologist, who's essentially supporting you, and you're going to see this person on a consistent basis, and it's essentially like a mandatory part of the clinic program that I went through, which is could not be more valuable because it starts to get to, and I think I've had this conversation with the therapist saying like becomes almost like a gambling scheme, right? Where you're just like, one more time, one more time, one more time. And you have to say to yourself, when are you going to say when? I mean, there's so many factors. There's, physical, emotional, mental, financial, right? Depending on what your insurance covers or does not cover with this. And people just, they just think, if I can just try one more time, one more cycle. And so, I mean, I consider myself so grateful that it only took a couple egg retrievals to
Mm.
get to one healthy embryo, where people I know try for years and years and years. And so looking back on it all, I think, wow, this was, and to your point, talk about going through something alone, right? Walking into a
Mm.
clinic where you see a room full of couples waiting, and then you're sitting there and you're thinking, like, in your head, like, oh, I'm just, here I
He couldn't
am.
make it. He couldn't make it. He's busy.
Right.
He doesn't exist. That's fine in my
Right.
imagination.
Right. Yeah. And of course, like in your mind, you're thinking like, oh, what would it be like to be, here doing all of this with a partner, right? And I mean, still to this day, I think about that. And but then at the end of the day, I think, I am I created my own path and followed my heart, followed my dreams to be able to have my daughter on my own. Like, what is more powerful than that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And each of like steps of this journey, what would did you journal? Did you share this with? I mean, this is like you said, it is a hugely emotional journey. Even down from the fertility treatments, first of all, you do become like an addict to the
Yeah,
process. It's like a
totally.
different version. I don't know. I had a co-host who now is an anchor at News Nation, Leland Vitter. We were co-hosts at the time during my treatments, and I really feel like I'm grateful for our friendship because
Mhm.
he knows a different version of me. It was like a monster. Like it was a monster. And so where did you find that motivation? Who did you share it with?
Yes, the hormones are no joke.
Wow.
I highly, hear you and feel you on that. And I kept it pretty close. Very close friends. And my mom knew exactly what was going on the entire time. So, it was a pretty tight circle. And I did not tell anybody at work. Nobody, in my small agency knew what was going on. I'm sure to your point about working with someone going through all of the hormonal changes that your body goes through as you're pumping yourself full of fertility
Yep.
meds. They're probably like, geez, she's a
Psycho.
real treat today. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll still
Somebody.
remember this going into my office one day after a failed transfer. And, they tell you go cold turkey. You can't stop all the drugs,
Nope.
everything. You stop taking everything. And then I walk in and I found like somebody had thrown out something that I had put in the refrigerator. I think it was like blueberries or something. So that just set me off. And I went nuts.
Those blueberries were $7.99 a pound. They were jumbo and organic. Do you want to die today? That's
Right.
what I'm gonna
I
say.
was like, who threw out my bleeping blueberries? Yeah,
No.
that was it.
So when you went to the hospital to give birth to Lucy, were you like what did you go through? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? Were your parents there with you? Walk me
Yes.
through that day.
Yeah, that was June of 2020. So
Yep.
right in the thick of COVID.
Mm.
And I say, everyone says 2020, oh, worst year ever. And I was like, well, for me, it was the best year because it gave me my daughter. And I was there. They allowed one person with you. I had a planned C-section. My mother was there. They allowed her to come in, and she was there for the entire experience. And yeah, it was no like having a planned C-section actually, I think worked for me mentally because I was like, okay, just got to get this baby, stick to the plan, and we're good. And so she did stick to the plan. Everything went smoothly. But then it's just like the weight of all this COVID stuff weighing on you of like, okay, now what? Right. And like your number one priority is protect your child, protect your baby. So yeah, it was just my mom, and then my dad eventually was able to come into the hospital to meet his granddaughter, and just the three of us. And I remember after night 3, them asking me, like, do you think you're ready to go home tomorrow? I was like, nope, I'm
Nope, no,
staying
I'm
one more
staying
night.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, for the rest of
I'll
my
be
life,
here another night.
actually.
Thank you. I would like earn my loyalty points.
Yeah, and it's a consensus with any mother when you say, "Oh, wait, I have to leave the wait, I'm leaving the hospital? No, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 that's not gonna happen." That
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. You want me to go do this now on my own, by myself?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, no, no. So, is there when you talk to young women, because obviously I think anyone in their 30s, which they are still young, or even in their
Yeah.
40s who are thinking about starting a family, because I've had conversations with women and I've told them about you, is that it's not impossible, that it's scary and it could be daunting, but
Mhm.
I mean, there's simply millions of people who are not having babies. I mean, it's all over. That's how we can like make this a political segment. People are not having children. And if
Choosing
you
not to
had
have kids,
they're
right? That's
choosing,
their
right?
choice. Yeah.
And so what would you say to them if they want it but they're afraid?
Yeah. I mean, there is nothing about parenthood that isn't have an element of fear, right? Whether you're with a partner, married, single, doing it on your own. So, I mean, the fear is always going to be there. I mean, in the back of my head, I thought to myself, if this doesn't work, if this isn't going to be, the way I can have a child, will I eventually adopt?
Mhm.
Or will I seek out another way? Something, send me a sign, like
Yep.
praying about it constantly, journaling about it also, and just like putting it out there into the universe, like, please send me a sign that like
Mhm.
I am on the right path. But
Yeah.
I will say to anybody, and I've talked to other people that are like thinkers, trying to conceive or thinkers. And at the end of the day, it's like, if you're going to go down this path, like, think about who is in your corner, who is your support, who do you have as your support network, so that when the day comes when you bring this healthy baby home, who is going to be there for you?
Mhm.
Because that to me is just like the number one question. Like, you can do this, but who is going to be your village? Who's going to be there when you pick up the phone and say, I need you?
Yeah.
Because to me, like, my parents, I could not do this without them and the support of other people in my life. It just, you can't do it. You can't do it
Yeah.
alone.
And the different iterations, the different chapters, right? So we got out of COVID, and then you had to really introduce Lucy. I also had a baby in 2020. You sort of have to introduce them to the world, and
Mhm.
you didn't really do that at like 4 weeks. Like you didn't bring Lucy maybe to a park or a playground because there was so much fear, there was so much unknown. So walk us through the different chapters so far in Lucy's life. She's in kindergarten now, right? She's 5.
Yes.
So
Yes, she
that
is.
they almost become like little they have like their own little life at 5, and you kind of start to become a sideshow, but up until then, you are the show. I mean, it
I
sounds
am
like
the show.
you've always been sort of a sideshow to Lucy. It sounds like she's our big personality,
She
but,
is.
what has that been like for you for the different chapters? Do you feel like you rely on people more or less depending
Yeah.
on the age?
I think it's so interesting because, like you said, having a baby during COVID, everything's shut down. I mean, it's like no one's going anywhere, everyone's here. And so it was almost like, in a way, looking back, wow, people are like, we want to bring you food, we want to bring you all these things. And so it was I felt it was just an outpouring of support. No one had anywhere else to be. So they just wanted to, show support. And that was fabulous. And so I soaked up as much as I could of that. And then suddenly things started to open up. And it was a matter of, oh, so people aren't just like wanting to bring us things and like completely like make us
Yeah.
the center of their universe.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to suddenly feel like my freedom is like a different, it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, as a parent, like having a child, later in life, like, you've lived so much of your life as like, I'm fancy and free, I'm doing whatever I want. And then suddenly it's like, stop.
Breaks.
Yeah. And so as, time went on and everything, you're just like, oh, okay. All right. So we got to like arrange your whole weekend around nap time and, all of the things. And I couldn't even find like her first year of life, she was at home and I had planned to have a nanny. And then that nanny fell through at the last minute before I went back to work. And next thing I know, I'm like,
Now
mom,
what?
dad, can you, what do you think about actually like coming, taking
Love
care
you.
of your granddaughter?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was like daycares were still not even open. I didn't want to try to put her in a daycare, and it was crazy. So, like, she was actually physically, I was working from home full time, and she's, in the next room with one of her grandparents for pretty much the first year of her life. And I think back, like, wow, I was able to be here, like physically be here and not miss whatever was going on for the most part, nearby because she was here with me.
Well,
And
and
that
I
was great.
hear that a lot from mothers as they say, how am I going to show up as a mother and then also stay in the workforce? What do
Mhm.
you tell moms who are afraid of finding that balance? Because I know I've worked at a number of different national networks and I've done a lot of weekend work because of my husband's schedule, and I've kind of survived with him having a very demanding career. That was kind of where I
Mhm.
fit in. And I actually found that to be a mecca for working moms because they typically wouldn't have childcare. So they'd work on the weekends when their husbands would be able, their spouses or partners or whatever would be able to support them. And I
Mhm.
actually think that working moms are the hardest working individuals in the workforce. We need
By
more.
far.
It's like we did a story about women leaving the workforce in droves. This is all recent, like pandemic levels. And we're like, hold on. These are the most functioning, contributing, wonderful members of society because they'll work their asses off. They will work their asses off.
And they can get stuff done at a pace and a rate that is incomprehensible to other people,
100%. And
right?
that's why when people are like, "Well, I don't know if I'm like, you should be a working mom." For some reason, everything else on your resume gets erased. People are like,
Right.
"What do you do for a living?" I don't know how many networks I've worked at. I don't know how many years I've been in news, but I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like, I can
Yeah.
bust out some chicken nuggets and
I'm
battle 64 youth sports in a night.
Yeah, CEO of raising, my family. Thank you for
Right?
asking, right?
We asked
Yeah,
Paula
project
Faris that.
manager.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing, right? So, would you say to women, like, if you're debating it, it's gonna make you better
Mhm.
as an employee. I really believe that. Aside from when I was a psycho, so sorry for Leland Vittert for that, and my whole team, Owen Renfro, who
Yeah,
is still at Fox News. But now you can put me in any scenario. I'm not afraid at all.
right. I mean, it does light you up on the inside and make you realize, like, I mean, I was lucky enough to be in an environment at work where I did have other working moms around me, which I think does make a huge difference too. When you can return from maternity leave or parental leave and walk into an environment where people do understand what you are going through, because we all say, like, oh, companies need to support working parents, companies need to support parents, returning to the workforce after having kids and all of that. And it's like, okay, then do that. Like, create policies and create things within that environment to make people feel seen and supported. And I just think I'm so grateful to the women that I worked with who were other working moms and became moms later, who had my back. And I think that's the thing. Like, you show up, like, working moms, we have each other's back, right?
Mhm.
Like, when you go into this, regardless, at least I was lucky enough to feel that way, where I was at my agency.
So to get to, of course, we're always trying to weave in politics on the show, but and not to put you in a tough position, is there policies that you would like to see? Is there more support
Mhm.
for women like you that you would like to see? What does that look like? Because it sounds like, of course, there's trials and tribulations to parenthood. So you could list off all the things that have been challenging with Lucy, but it's going
Mhm.
to just drown in all the things that you love about Lucy, right?
Right.
So you essentially would say this experience is something a woman, if she chooses to, should be
Right.
able to do. But
Of course.
there's got to be some roadblocks. So what do you want to see for moms?
I mean, honestly, like, I feel like I'm fortunate to live in a state in Illinois where, like, if you have, like, insurance, Illinois-based insurance, like, it does cover IVF treatment, right? And or at least it did with my plan. And so I feel like, obviously those laws are so important because IVF can bankrupt people,
Mhm.
and it obviously can stop you from chasing your dreams if you can't afford it. I know people have taken out loans. They've tried, any way possible to be able to afford it. It's insanely expensive. So that's for starters, just having that, insurance coverage is key. But then also maternity leave, right? Parental leave. I mean, I can honestly say, like, it was not a pleasant experience when I was negotiating my own maternity leave at my company. It wasn't, the person prior to me who had a baby. She really got, like, a bad end of the deal for hers. And so when I went in, I was like, guess what? I'm gonna be asking you for more. And here's what I'm asking for. And it was a loosey goosey policy to begin with.
Mhm.
But yet our agency also had an office in New Zealand. And New Zealand also has, like,
Uh,
year-long subsidized maternity leave. It was like apples and oranges, right? I mean, two totally different countries. But I was like, if you want to make people feel supported, I mean, we have got to get this maternity thing figured out. Maternity leave, at least parental leave figured out. For men and women, right? But for working moms, right? You get maybe, if you're lucky, 12 weeks, right? And even that is not paid entirely. Some of it's like short-term disability, use vacation, use your PTO, whatever it is. And 12 weeks, your baby at what 12 weeks is like just bubbling into
a
this
non-alien, a
person.
non-alien.
Yeah, right. With the little personality and then up back to work. Yeah.
So isn't that mind-boggling to you? I mean, for me, in all the segments that we've done when it pertains specifically to children, it's like here in the United States, and I'm not one to be critical. This is the greatest country on the planet. I couldn't be more grateful. But at the same time, we're negotiating for the next generation. Like, why
Yeah.
why are we stacking up holiday, like PTO, vacation, to try to like just try to get in a small, just it's 12 weeks of their life.
Right.
They would die if we weren't there.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we can't all work at Google. I mean, Google's has, I don't know, like 6 months or something, which I mean, to me, that's great. Like, can we make that the norm? I mean, not every company can do that. I understand that. But
right.
at the same time, I feel like that should be the norm,
Right, right. So,
in
is
a
there
perfect
more?
world.
Yeah, in a different world, but do you think it's getting better? I mean, I know that IVF, that there's certainly more. When we went through it, it wasn't covered by insurance, but everyone's insurance is a little bit different. And every year I feel as if there's more awareness for infertility. And I'm just curious on the parental leave aspect. Do you feel like that's something that's changing?
I mean, just looking at the other women that I've worked with that have had
Yeah.
children after I did, I feel like I wouldn't call myself a trailblazer, but like I pushed really
Yeah.
hard,
Right.
and I was using everything I had, every possible angle that I could come up with in order to negotiate for more. And then based on what I got, then the person following me who had baby next, like was able to say, like, there's precedent here, right? We
Mhm.
have to follow the precedent. You can't do something for one employee and not do it for the other.
Yeah.
Eventually the benefits kind of changed around. But I would say to anybody, working at a company where they feel like the maternity leave policy or parental leave is not, what they would like it to be. It's like, speak up. I mean, the most powerful thing you have is your voice. So whether or not, the HR changes the policy, but make your opinions known and
But we have more
make it
people.
feel like you have a voice, right? Like if you are an employee there, they value you, you should have a voice.
Well, and I think even you would have support, like now more than ever, you have these platforms, even on social media, that can be used for good. And I know
Mhm.
certainly I'm coming from the lens of a mother, but I could see women, young and old, supporting someone who says, wait a second, I'm only allowed 6 weeks, and then you want me to put my kid in daycare, which is a great, wonderful tool. And maybe you need that and want that. And you have
Mhm.
to get back to work, but not everybody does. That doesn't mean that they can't be
Right.
functioning members of society just because they want a little bit more time off with their newborn, right? It's
Right.
a traumatic experience, even though it's beautiful. It's still, you
Right.
still have a whole new life to take care of. So when you talk to Lucy, I love the position that you're in, because it can be this really a superhero position. It is your superpower that you chose to have her. And I would
Mhm.
imagine, like we all a lot of us chose to have, not all of us, some of us, to have a family. But for you, you can look at Lucy in the eyes and be like, I really fought for you. Like I
Yeah.
really wanted you. And I think that's really got to be so cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. We have books about kind of our unique family structure, right? Like we're a mommy and me family and love makes the family. All families are different. All families are special. And the thing that ties all families together is love. And she's very well aware of our family structure and that, she has a Grammy and a papa and a mommy and aunties and uncles and all of that. And so yeah, for her, like she's definitely not at an age yet where she probably she doesn't, it's not as if like she doesn't, bring it up to me. Like it's always like I follow her lead, but she doesn't, come to me with a ton of questions. But like whenever she does, like I'm very honest with her and, kind of would, it's one of those things where it's like our family is something to be celebrated, just like all families, right? And I want her to feel proud and proud of the family that we're in and proud of herself, and all of the things. And obviously just every, family is worthy of love and respect for one another. So yeah, I mean, it's and I've met, tons of others, a whole group of us like that had babies around the same time that were all like pursuing it on our own. And we all met right before our babies were born, and we were able to like get together, and we still kind of communicate through this group chat. So that sense of support, right? Finding that community and really tapping into other moms who are walking the walk, the same walk that you're walking is really critical.
Well, I think that's something to be noted, right? Is that you can get on Facebook to buy a bicycle, but you can also get on Facebook or social media. As much as we talk about how it can be damaging in certain ways, it can
Mhm.
really be beautiful because it's a way
Yeah.
for you to find your community. Because the fact of the matter is that yes, of course, you're unique to me because I know you, but there are so many women who are like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like
Yeah.
you're really not maybe a minority anymore because people are wanting to start
Thousands. Yeah.
families.
Yep. And I know like another mom, she chose to adopt her child, her daughter on her own, and then she adopted a second. And, so it's like their family, was created through adoption, which is also a beautiful story. So it's amazing. Like the more I talk to people, the more I share my story with other people, someone will go, "Oh my gosh, I had a friend who did that," or "I know somebody else who did that." And so, it's just a matter of making those connections, and people realize like, wow, like there's more of us out there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
before I let you go, and I did sort of ask you this when I asked you what the tipping point was, but just tell me a little bit about your gut instinct to never give up in moments where you would remember what happened when you went through the traumatic experience of losing a family member, because then that brings you fear if you bring a child into this world. I mean, we all have so many fears. Like you said, it's really scary, but
Right.
you are a trailblazer. But like we said, there's more people following your lead. So, kind of that last parting piece of advice for someone who's struggling with this gut instinct that they want to be a parent and they want to have this experience, but the fear is taking over.
Right. And I mean, I was there. I sat and felt that fear, right? And you're just thinking like it's, what if, the whole what if scenario, and what if this doesn't work, or and I looking back now that I'm where I am, I mean, I say, what if I didn't? What if I didn't try? What if, now I'm going to start getting emotional.
It's true.
But seriously, like
Yep.
if I had not tried, if I had not, really
Yep.
looked deep inside myself to say, at the end of the day, you want to be a mother. You know all the love you have to put out in this world.
Mhm.
And if I had not tried to go down this path, I wouldn't be able to hug my daughter every night and tell her I love her.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I like you and I talked about, I never envisioned being a parent. I was just focused on really the wrong things, I think, because now as a parent, it's just been an experience. Part of the reason why we're doing this is that, like, let's figure out a way where we can come together and make sure that it is as seamless as it can be for all of us. Because the potential of having another human has just been such an experience. It's been such an experience.
it opens
And
your eyes to a world that you never knew existed once you become a parent.
well, Marla, you are amazing. You're such an inspiration. So grateful that you came on with us today.
Thank
I think
you.
that you're leading by example, and I hope that more women look at the path that you've chosen and say, you know what? I think I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to set up a support system. I'm going to try it.
Right. And honestly, like never give up hope. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, my faith, my hope, support from the people that I trust the most. Tune out everyone else. Tune
Mhm.
out anyone who doesn't feel supportive, and
Yeah.
stay with your people that you know and that you trust.
And the joy you brought your parents too, right? I mean, think
Oh,
of all right? Amazing.
she
Well,
can do
Marla,
no wrong.
well, I mean, I've seen pictures of Lucy. She can do no wrong. I
Oh my
Well, thank
gosh.
you for joining us. I'm sure that we'll ask you for more segments. We're always tackling some really tough issues here, so we're grateful for you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is so good to reconnect with you and be a part of this like conversation, the platform. I love what you're doing. It's so great. So thank you.
Thank you.